Welcome back, everyone, to another Lullaby Stories exclusively on Electrostep Network. Today's guest, we got Shadowstar, aka Dylan, in the house today. Dylan, how are we today?
Man, I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you coming on. So let's get into it, man. Tell the audience, who is Shadowstar?
The easiest way to explain that is it is accumulation of, 15 years of projects and side things that just accumulated into the formation of a sound that comes natural to me. So it's a bit about um, deep progressive peak time techno that has a little bit of a psi influence. Can't get away from the psychedelic stuff as I'm probably a hippie at heart. But
I could tell from the background a little bit there, you
the
know?
space cat, yeah, I give props
Yes.
to that for to Dead Mouse. He was giving me it was like poking me the first time I met him, and I just had a green screen behind me. He was like, "Hey man, I'm low-key disappointed you don't have like space cat motifs going on with that green screen behind you." This is like, if you know, you know. But yeah, man, it's really just a project through electronic experiment and music that deals with like themes of hope, redemption, battling like inner demons and merging the light and the dark.
I love it, man. I love it. So tell me what got you inspired to make music. You know, you've been doing this for 15 years. Everybody's got a start kind of thing. You talk about redemption and whatnot. So like every artist that I've like seen kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like a lot of them at least, they come from like either they just started because they were happy or started because, some dark times or whatever kind of thing, you know what I mean? So like what was your story to get you to where you're at and like give you that conviction that like, all right, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, and this is why I want to do it.
And man, that's a really good question. It's the question that most people don't ask these days because nobody really wants to hear, well, I came from a family of musicians. But basically I've lived in Austin, Texas like my entire life. And my parents, they had their own club on 6th Street, which is like the main street for downtown. And yeah, man, they were musicians like through and through, the whole family. Like I literally grew up in a room that was just like full on drum kit with like the cage system, ambidextrous Neil Peart
Wow.
drummer in the family and kind of thing. And so that was just life. That's what I thought, rock stars were. I didn't really know about like Motley Crue or Kiss or anything like that. Is like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like rock
Right.
star to me was like people that played music that made you feel something and they were telling you the truth through lyrics or through musical notes, right?
Right.
Growing up with like 12 of my brothers on the same street, not like
Jeez,
literally my
12.
blood brothers, but like
Oh,
it
gotcha,
was like a
gotcha. I was about to
village, you know what I
say.
mean? Like yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, my parents really got out of Catholic family. No, basically we all grew up together. We were all into very creative things. We all had wild imaginations, but the music really brought us together. And slowly but surely, as life happened, everyone started going on their own path. But like I was just so dedicated to this, it was just something that I was called to, and over a couple years you start to get into your teenage experimentation like trouble for the most part.
Right, right.
And it was like I needed something to express myself that I could understand. Like it's one thing to have, people try to understand you and not get
Right.
it, but music was the path for me. So about like 13, 14, man, like nobody was getting together to do band practice. Nobody wanted to play instruments all day long. People wanted to do other things, right? Chase
Right.
girls, whatever.
Hmm.
For me, it was like, okay, I'm gonna wear every hat. I'm gonna figure this out. Like I can't just play the guitar without even a loop pedal because I'll never finish a song.
Right.
Eventually got my hands on some music software, like a pirated version from a friend who's like, yeah, check this out. And started going to my first raves and was like, what is this? So that essentially accumulated into hours at the computer, just trying to teach myself with very little direction. Got my hands on Ableton sometime mid teenage years, and then it was game over. It's just like I'm hooked. Um, like we didn't really have a lot of money or anything growing up when it comes to like getting tutoring and all that fun stuff. So
Right.
my mom like literally printed out the entire Ableton manual, like page for page.
Hey.
Yeah, and she was
So
like, I
it's
can't
funny
get
that
you
you
these
say that.
lessons. Yeah,
I
go
I
ahead.
was I had a I had a guest on here that literally had the same approach. Like, it's funny because, like, how many people do you know actually took time to read that Ableton manual anyways, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you read the manual, it almost like gives you step by steps like what to do, and it was like, okay, I'll figure this out, you know.
Right,
Uh,
right.
10 years of doing that though, you need direction. And like I was at that time, I met my wife and we were just like all in the scene. Her family's like all DJs, they all perform. So like I was being
Oh,
educated from people who've been in, the scene for a long time. And I was just like at a crux of my life, where everything was like crossing, and I like quit. I retired from a job I had for like 11 years, and
wow.
then went truck driving, dude, like literally around the US. And, I had a bunch of friends that wanted to support me. And I even had a very good friend, like literally help me out with a MacBook at the time when I didn't have a computer to take with me. And my spouse was just like, hey, I've seen you've been looking at this dojo thing. Like, you should probably check it out and go all in on this. Like, I think it would be really good for you while you're on the road.
Right.
So I literally took the last bit of money I had, bet on myself to go into the dojo, and within 1 year went through the program, learned every technical thing I could about engineering from the perspective of bass music. And like as a house and techno guy, it's
Yeah.
really different. But
You're right.
wow, did it give me the tools that I need, right? Like it's so funny when you try to go like learn a genre, but like if you
Right.
just go learn concepts, everything else comes into place. So yeah, man, like within 1 year got my first EP out, and that really jump started everything for like even the last 6 months. That's really
Nice.
like the beginning stories.
So you play instruments then, right? I heard you say
Mm-hmm.
guitar, maybe drums kind of thing, right?
I'm a failed guitarist in my own words, and like I should have been a drummer. That was like the first instrument my dad gave me, and then I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
So
So
that's actually funny that you say that too, because me, like, I also come from a family of like musicians. My sister sings, my stepmother, she also sings. My dad plays a little bit
nice.
of instruments, my like drums, piano, guitar, bass, self-taught kind of thing. My sister plays guitar. My stepmom plays guitar. Me, I play the computer kind of
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
I do all
exactly
their
what it
jobs
turned into.
essentially in one.
Yeah, so you know what I mean when I said like I wanted to wear all the hats. It was like I can't
Right.
depend on other people to show up on at these times and all that. It was like, no, I'm just gonna do it. Like I'm gonna be the drummer, I'm gonna be the bass player, all of that. And I
Exactly.
think it helped me like understand like the game, right? Like
Right,
making
right.
music is a game. It's
It
super
is.
fun.
It really is. And so like another question is you said you went to raves, right? So which came first for you kind of thing? Did you get into the music, or was it one of those situations that like a homeboy just was like, "Hey man, you should come out to this show," and that was your first experience with EDM? Like how did you experience it first? Did you listen to the music first, got interested, went to a show, or you just kind of went, "Fuck it, I'm going into a show."
Yeah, funny enough, dude, I was like 5 years old and a friend burnt me a CD. Like, kids today have no idea what that's
Right.
like. But yeah, burnt me a CD and had like what was, forum trance. I was probably like 8 actually when I think about it, like in the 90s. So, um, around 8, yeah, it would be my buddy in elementary school, like burned me a CD of like forum trance music, not like, polished, super high, like rave underground festival stuff. It's like,
Right.
like 8-bit sounding trance. And it was actually really emotional and like really powerful. So I'd bring these CDs over when all me and my brothers would get together and like play toys or build Legos or whatever, and
Yeah.
listen to that. And it was just like, what is this? I've never heard any music like this. I
Right,
could only
right,
relate it to the records that my dad was educating me on,
right,
good on him for educating me from like point A to B.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like it was so like I know for me, like my first time like seeing anything was like one day, I was on the music channel of my TV like provider, right? And then like I saw a music video, I'm like, who the fuck is Skrillex? You know what I mean? Like I'm listening to the
Yeah.
dude or whatever. First of the year, I remember vividly. I'm like, what the fuck? There's no lyrics. Like, what is this? Like, I
Yeah.
I turned it off. Like I straight up just turned it off for a second, and finally I was like, I listened to it again, and it kind of just stuck. And then from there, like the rest is history, kind of thing. But like I could definitely understand like the culture shift, you know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
like
Oh
you go
yeah.
from like rock music to like traditional instruments, singers, the whole nine, right? And then
Mhm.
finally you're just hearing like computer sounds and you're just like, holy shit, what is this?
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, like my cousin, dude, I went to go for like this family reunion when I was younger up north, and he gave me a CD as well, and it had like drum and bass, like classics. Had some jungle on it. It was just like I was like, what is this? Hearing remixes of like Send Me to Outer Space. It was like, oh,
Right.
what is going on? It's like had that like grit, that attitude.
Yeah.
So like that's what pulled me in. Low key totally fell into loving Scooter along the way. I know a lot of people in America are like, Scooter's not good music, but man, you go over to Europe, there's like hundreds of thousands of people that are like, let's go sing to this music. So,
Hell
it's
yeah.
just like I got into it all just to figure out like what it was about. Like what is this?
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
a
So
cultural
like
thing.
so whatever, you listened for it for a few years. It sounds like since the age of 8, right? So like you've been listening to it for a while and whatnot, and like who would you say would be your main inspirations that like when you started? All right, because everybody that starts, right, we all want to sound like somebody before we make our own sound, right? Who did
Yeah.
you want to like who did you take the most inspiration from that you're like, okay, like I'm trying to get to like this dude or this gal's level kind of thing?
It's gonna be like kind of a 3 point thing, so I'll keep it concise. The first one,
Sure.
I still cannot find the artist who made this trance song. Like I have it on my CD. It's like the ultimate song. It's like driving beats, but at the same time, it's like this really like melodic, like happy, almost happy hardcore melody going on,
Hell
but
yeah.
like super, super good. But honestly, at some point when I heard Dead Mouse for the first time, it was just like, okay, this progressive minor melodic music is like really speaking to me.
Right.
But I guess like I can now say my namesake because we have some close to the same name as Shadow Child, dude. That dude is every song he
Nice.
does, I'm in love with. And I'm just like, how
Hell
does he
yeah.
do it? you know? Yeah.
No, for sure. And like, so speaking about that track that you can't find, have you like tried like Shazamming it or
I
anything
try,
like?
yeah, Shazam it, Google, like I've sent it out on Reddit, like just nobody can find that artist, man. It's crazy.
Damn, damn.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. You see some of these artists, they pop up with a really good song and then they're gone in the ethos kind of thing, you know what I mean? So like it's interesting to see that kind of thing. So with that being said, like what's been your way of like not just disappearing?
Mm. Man, that's a really good question. I think it's consistency, like just in life. When it comes to like music and stuff, like you have to just be a part of the industry. And I don't mean like the superficial industry, like where like Taylor Swift is, that is a whole other ball game, right?
Oh yeah.
But there's people that are trying to learn production. So I teach. I've literally taught damn near 900 plus sessions, just in the last 3 years. That alone has kept me in like close contact with the pulse of like what new producers are trying to do, right? So
Right.
that educates me. It's actually I probably learn more than like I teach, but then just like making music and like exploring new technology, like that's probably one of the biggest things. Explore new technology, and chances are you're going to come up with something very unique, and that then keeps you relevant in some of your circles.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And going back to like the dojo and whatnot, like one of the main tenets there, and what I absolutely love as a dojo member myself is like that behavioral aspect of music kind of thing that we tend to neglect, right? That is those principles of like consistency, like being on it kind of thing, but like giving yourself grace, right? And all that stuff. So
Mm.
so whenever it comes to that kind of thing, what was your experience and how did you get from being a student to being a mentor?
Dude, honestly, it's all about concepts. Like I touched on it very briefly earlier, and I'll just go into it for a minute. I was a house and techno guy coming into the dojo, which is primarily a bass community. I mean,
Right.
everyone can teach anything, whether it's drum and
Right.
bass or left field, whatever. But like, there really wasn't someone who like got house and techno, and
Right.
that's like not a slight on anyone, right? Like, it's
Right.
just
Right.
you have to be all in, just like any other genre, to understand it. And
Yeah.
so I was like 3 months into the dojo, and I was like, man, I do not know if this is the place to be. I just like took the last bit of my savings to do this. Now
Right.
I'm on the road. What's going to happen? And 3 months in, I just like flipped the script in my mind and hit that switch. And it was just like concepts, understand concepts. And so as soon as like I was looking at like, don't do as I do, but understand what I'm talking about, everything opened up. And then my sound changed like within 1 month. It was
Nice.
literally like night and day, total fire hose blasting me. And then like I just overcame it. And it was like, okay, here's the idea. Like, music is a puzzle. And as an
Right.
engineer or as a producer, however you want to, label it at this point in my journey,
Right.
it's problem solving, right? I
Right.
have this idea in my head. I'm trying to get it out. I run into an obstacle. What's the solution? Right. So
Right.
once you had the concepts, it just became like a puzzle, man. Just like decode it's a language. It's totally a language.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
man.
Like, and I can absolutely agree. Like, I know for me, like, I stayed pretty isolated in my life kind of thing in terms of like in my home life. So, like, the social interaction kind of thing was a little bit difficult for me whenever I go out to the real world kind of thing. And like, music
Oh,
is
fair.
absolutely one of the ways that, like, helped me overcome that. It was a way, a method of me to be able to tell my story and whatnot. Right. So, like, every artist has their story and whatnot. So, whenever it comes to stories, what is the story that you've been telling through Shadowstar? I know you said stuff like topics about redemption and whatnot and all that stuff. And I just want to prick your brain a little bit more about that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you were to go listen to my like earliest catalog from the dojo, it's like really organic progressive house. And it was all created from working like really late nights. So this job I had that was like life changing for me, was it had the security I needed, but I was working as like a night watchman groundskeeper. So like I'd be getting home well after 2 in the morning,
Right.
and I'd be writing music. So it was like music to soothe my soul, but like still the dream that I've always had as a kid to like get to the top of whatever my dream is.
Right.
And so I'd be writing this music that would like soothe my soul after a very long night. And then when I switched to days, that's when like more narratives started coming out. And I had been writing like a lot of darker tone music, but
Mm-hmm.
never like really wanted to put it out because I had this like fear that it would instigate more negativity in the world or something. But then I realized when I listened to these songs, and a friend of mine was like, hey man, the architect also matters in this, business. Like, you could, it's like Deftones. Like, people probably
Right.
don't want to listen to screaming all day long, but it's actually very cathartic for me. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so I think the story that I'm like really like talking about is probably the with I don't know how to say it, but like my egocentric reality view, right? Like, my world is going to be unique just due to my own experience than
Right.
say yours, right?
Right.
We'll find places where we overlap, but it's like I see the world through a very specific lens, and so I'm almost like vlogging that through audio
I
and
like that.
showing what those moments of my life are, whether it's like hope and redemption or you know dude, I've been thinking a lot about my teenage years recently. I think like I'm finally over 30, so it's like
The
that
dirty
thing.
30, baby.
Yeah, and I just look at like my teenage years going like, man, I'm glad that most of my struggles or the things that I had to go through happened before I was 20,
Hmm.
because I think I can finally start like forgiving myself for maybe not being the best listener, or like acting too hyper, or just
Giving
things
yourself
that you do
grace,
when
right?
you're a teenager, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I've always been like hyper aware. So
Mhm.
that stuff sticks with me. And the only way to like, I think, truly discern it and try and make amends and forgive myself and others is just like through music. It's just here's the story. like I'm reading some sort of fairy tale or something.
I love that, man. So like this is gonna be an assumption kind of thing, but like, did you get your name Shadow Star from like working those night shifts and then proceeding to like the day shifts kind of thing? How did you like? All right, this is what I want my name to be.
Oh, wow. Okay, 2 seconds. I think your microphone switched over, just so you know.
Oh,
But that's actually a really cool insight, man.
can you test? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think the volume went down just a little bit though.
Ah, gotcha. I'll just turn it up just a little bit. There we go.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, I just want to make sure it's good on your end, man.
Right, right.
Yeah. Um, dude, that's actually a really cool like perspective. Funny enough though, it actually came from like three different parts, but eventually it was just a nickname and it was in
Mhm.
Japanese. And
Oh,
it's hard, no one's going to be able to read that in the Western world, right? And it's like Dojo
right,
101. Can you Google it?
right,
Right.
right.
Huh. But that's actually really cool, man, to look at it that way. Maybe there's something synchronistic about that that even I didn't notice. So
There's
I'll give you
synchronicities
credit
about
on
it.
that one, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, like it's funny. We pick a name, right, that resonates with us, and then we figure out like, wow, this actually resonates a lot harder than I thought, kind of thing. So, like for instance,
Yeah.
my name, right? My life path number is 7, right? Like, and not only that, like if you read my name, it's I think it's like 7 letters kind of thing too. And then not only that, if you read it as Roman numerals at the beginning, it's also 7. So
Oh,
like
777, bro. You got the septenary.
exactly,
So
exactly.
we
So
are definitely here to meet. Literally, the Shadow Star logo is the septagram.
really, no shit.
Yeah.
See, there's weird. Everything is connected, right? Like all of our share, like we share a collective consciousness in some way, shape, or form, kind of thing. And it always, and that's in my life. Like I try to find those patterns, right? Like I was reading one book. Either it was I forgot the name of it. It was a really good book, but like in that book, it was saying like if you're gonna find patterns, make sure they're positive ones, right? So like one of the things that I try to incorporate in my life is like every day I'll try to find one thing that looks like a heart. Like even if it's not like even if it's super ambiguous, right? It's a heart.
Yeah, like
And then
arbitrary.
arbitrary,
Yeah.
exactly. But in that, it does something mentally to you. It kind of like switches a switch in your brain that kind of like just shows everything else in a positive light, kind of thing. And like being able
Oh,
to find those
absolutely.
synchronicities and whatnot is amazing.
It is. It is. Yeah. The synchronicities of life are really fun if you think about it, right? Like humans are naturally looking for patterns, whether it's because of the evolution of survival or
Right.
whatever have you, right? The psychological development. But whatever you're looking for, you will find. It's the red car theory,
Absolutely.
right? Like if you think, or
Yeah.
it's like you buy a new car and now you see that car everywhere on the road, but previously
Right.
you're like,
Right.
oh, I never see that car. And so, you think about this consciously or unconsciously, choose to do it consciously so you'll see the patterns you want to see, right? So that you
Absolutely.
you 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 get the magic out of life. So it happens
Absolutely.
for you. Yeah.
Right, right. So rewinding a little bit, right? You name dropped
Yeah.
Dead Mouse, right? So like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tell me about like I think you said something along the lines that you had a little bit of a conversations with the Dead Mouse and whatnot. So it sounded like you got to meet one of your childhood heroes. Have you ever played a show with him or anything like that? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. Did get to meet him through crazy what he calls dumb luck, but you make your own luck.
Right,
And then
absolutely.
yeah. Again, the patterns, right? But
Right.
in May, dude, I actually got to play a show with him, which was like nuts. It was in my hometown, no less,
No
and
shit.
my city basically rallied behind me on social media and was like, "We need Shadow Star to play. Like he's on their label. Like this is the perfect time." And like, dude, it was like dominoes.
Yeah.
The talent buyer of the venue literally just gave me an opportunity, and then that led to another opportunity, and it just dominoes, man.
So you're on Mouse Step like label then?
Yeah. So I got signed to Mousetrap with a single for the We Are Friends Volume 11 at the beginning. It was released January 2023 on Joel's birthday, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that
so
was
speak
cool, you know.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, so speaking about like dumb luck and whatnot, how have you been creating your dumb luck, right? You miss every shot you don't take,
Mm.
and you've literally like, like not too many people can say, hey man, like I've been listening to this dude for like ages kind of thing. This is like the dude that like, you know what I mean, kind of inspired me to take my own journey and this, that, and the other. So how did you manage to like kind of make those dominoes fall, place them before you made them all like fall into place kind of thing?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's preparation for opportunity, right?
Right.
So I just at some point knew that there was a sound coming through me, and I was kind of like shelving it, like, oh, just leave the dark stuff at the door. And I just had a really good support group that was like, no, I think you need to start releasing this and see what happens, right?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, this is like almost like a total rebrand because the earlier music to this,
Right.
but the architect matters, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're listening to Skrillex in 2010 or if you're listening to Skrillex today, like you hear him in it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
music changes as it should, but
Right.
you hear him. So the real like concept to do this in terms of setting up your dumb luck is literally dream. Like just dream about every possible thing you can think about, and then if you're into manifestation, right, just be like, I want this or something better, what I can't imagine.
Right.
And for the longest time, dude, I just wanted to like go up and shake Joel's hand, be like, thank you for inspiring me, like all that. And when I got the opportunity, he was like, hey man, like let's just have a beer, like let's, like, I'm just a human, dude, let's just chill. And
Right.
after that moment when he like kind of was like, it's cool, it's nice to meet you,
Yeah.
let's chat, like we're supposed to be like a 15-minute meeting, and he hung out for like a good hour just like showing me the illusions of what I thought were what my life was to be if I was going to succeed at this. Where
Right.
it was just night and day, man. He was just able to
Right.
like lay it out. Just be good to people, treat
Hmm.
every person like they matter, and you'll find that they do. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If you think someone doesn't
Absolutely.
matter, that's normally where you can have the 180, and it's like that was the most important person that could have helped you in your career, or that was
Right.
the one person you could have changed their life.
Absolutely.
And so I just look at it that way, right? Like if you're a creative, if you're an artist, you're already doing a service to the earth. I mean, you're not destroying something, you're creating something,
Right. Right.
right? If you're doing it through music, you're making people feel something through a sequence of sounds. So it's like you have like an obligation. So, and you're not obligated to do it, but
Right.
like that is an obligation. So for me, I think setting up the dumb luck was just like, you just have to believe in the patterns of everything you're doing every second of the day is going to be the next step. That's,
I
that's
love
just the
that.
easiest way I can explain it, man.
For
It's well,
sure.
it's
For
it's what we're
sure.
doing here. This is the next step in the right direction for both of us, I would hope.
Right. No, absolutely. And it's funny that the dreaming and manifesting side of things, right? Like I've had this talk with a couple of people and whatnot. Like the CIA has actually come out on record about the actual power of manifestation. It's a real working force in the world, man. Like it's crazy that your consciousness can create your reality, can
Yeah.
control like your outside surroundings and everything like that. And the amount of power a human has to do that is incredible.
Just here.
Just
Just here.
here.
And if you connect it to the heart, like, dang, dude, you
Oh
can you can
yeah.
literally change lives. And your
Literally.
life will be transformed.
So speaking of changing lives, you said that you've done over like 900 sessions and whatnot. There's a certain like, and I was talking to Dylan about this too. There's a certain amount of pride that comes with being able to like lift somebody up kind of thing. At least for me kind of thing. So like
Yeah.
whenever it comes to that, like what's been your experience with those? Have you seen any of your students actually like kind of like go places? Like how does that make you feel being able to be like, I had something to do with that person's life kind of thing. I had an effect on this person in a positive one.
Yes, absolutely, man. It's my dad used to say, like, pride is before the fall, but there's nothing wrong with being proud of a job well done. That's a different type of pride. And so I
Absolutely.
look at it like this. When I became a teacher, I never wanted to be a teacher, dude. Like I always was like, oh, those who can't teach. And sure enough, man, like I learned very quickly that if I was going to be a teacher, I wanted to give what I never had. And so that's literally my ethos is like give what I never had so that people can get further along than I. And every goal of mine with my students is I want you to be better than I was either at that point or even now. Their success is my success. I get to see
Absolutely.
them enjoy their dream. So many people are selling your dreams that are never ever going to fulfill the terms of the agreement because your dream is so.
Right.
But in this case it was like realistic goals, let's knock this out. And yeah, I've literally taken people from opening Ableton for the first time to walking across the finish line of finishing their tracks, getting them released on labels that they want to be on, that they're proud of. It's one thing for me to be like, yeah, I got them on Capitol Records. It's fucking no. I'm talking about people like finding their confidence, their voice, their sound, and their stylistic imprint. Like that is amazing, man. Like
Absolutely.
people will literally thank me, and I don't even know how to accept it because
Yeah.
I'm thanking them at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's
It,
been a journey, man. It really has.
I can definitely relate to that feeling. Like I feel like, I'm just being myself, and then you get that overwhelming gratitude from somebody that, you never necessarily knew how much of an impact you had on them until they kind of like express that to you kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's a
Absolutely.
weird feeling.
It is, yeah, especially as a creative or like, dude, like I'm relatively introverted. Like you get me on a one-on-one, like I'll be like, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard sometimes, man, to understand what that feels like and how to be emotionally available to that. Like a
Yes.
lot of artists are not emotionally available to handle this kind of stuff.
Right.
And at some point, it just became kind of natural
Mhm.
where everyone, because of the patterns, right? I'm
Right.
looking for the right students whenever we're meeting. Is like, can we get deep? Can we go down the rabbit hole and like really solidify like what your core beliefs are? And then by that time, it's like we resonate, and it's just like the law of reciprocity, man. Like it just feels like immense gratitude to help each other in this goal, this journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the timer came up for remaining time in the meeting. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to go ahead and pull up a track that you sent me here. I always
Yeah,
like
let's do
to
it.
give an opportunity for my guests to like show me your moves. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up real quick. Let's see. Let
Yeah.
me see here. And after that, man, I'll just have a little bit more words to say, give you a little bit more of a couple of last words and whatnot, and we'll go from there.
That sounds good, man. I appreciate you playing the tune.
Yeah, of course. Here, let me go ahead and put stereo high fidelity, share sound. So glad they've gotten better at this. Thank you,
Yeah.
sound.
Curse Zoom.
All right, you can see this.
It's loading. Yeah, I got it now.
Perfect. Okay. And so this one, ninth gate, we'll talk about this here in just a second as well.
All
So
right.
let's go ahead and play from here. Dude, that was gas. So I'll
Hey,
wait, right? I'm not a trance person kind of thing, right? But that's the kind of shit that will get me moving.
it's all about groove, dude. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about that track.
Okay, so basically backstory is after getting signed to Mousetrap, like I getting that single onto Mousetrap, I started like diving into my old tracks, looking at my sound, rebuilding my palette, and then I wrote that after like this period of writer's block. He was like, oh man, does this mean I have to change my sound now that I'm on this? But luckily, chatting with Dead Mouse, he's like, dude, like you want to do the thing that you can do for the rest of your life. Like figure out what that
Absolutely.
is. And then it was like, oh, just be authentic. Like that's the
Right.
answer, you know?
Absolutely.
If you want to be original, want to do something that no one's ever done before, just be authentic. That's the answer, right? So that song came out of like a pool of demos, basically 5 songs, and that one just like I don't know what happened. That was like the next breakthrough after Dojo, going on to Mousetrap. Like that was a breakthrough. It just made sense. And shout out to like Sam Wolf and like Umeka 1605 is like they inspire me. So it's like, wow, like you can get these heavier tunes and keep it absolutely clean, polished production. Kind of
Absolutely.
like Of the Trees style production. It's like
Right.
you can do it in this music. So that was just like the journey. And so I don't know if you've ever read the book The Ninth Gate, or most people have probably seen the movie with Johnny Depp called The Ninth Gate, but it is like magnificent. If you haven't, I highly recommend you check it out. But
Hell
it was
yeah.
like, this is it. Like, this is the ninth gate, like where my life is changing. And, like the dark music being the wrong means for my previous ideology,
Hmm.
but maybe me like trying to be as good of a person as I can in this world, being the right person, wrong means great outcome.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I like to tell people too, at least when I found in my journey, is that like it got easier over the years to stop looking at what I feel like I needed to do instead of just doing what I wanted to do, kind of thing. And like as soon as
Yeah.
you give that your like as soon as you give yourself that liberation to say like, fuck it, I'm gonna make what I want to make. It's like a fucking ton of bricks just lifted off of you, and you just become like you grow your wings and you're flying. You know what I mean?
Exactly, dude. Because no one like, man, I'm not even gonna lie. I straight was like, Dead Mouse, I want to be your apprentice. Teach me everything, please. He's like,
Teach
dude,
me,
I could.
senpai.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, dude, I could teach you all of it. I could show you all my tricks. He's like, but like to summarize, he just goes, at what point will you be a second rate me and not a first rate you? And I was
I
like,
love that.
oh, you are the
Shit.
teacher. So then it was just like, yeah, man, give myself the permission to liberate myself. You said it so well, man. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. So we
Yeah.
got like about like less than 3 minutes remaining here. So I got two questions for you.
Yeah.
What would you want to tell the audience that you wish you knew when you started all this and with all the accumulated knowledge that you've gained in this time? And then who do you want to shout out?
Okay. So the thing that I would tell people that I wish I knew from the beginning is it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors. And if you can, clean your mirror and recognize that if you got a core group of friends that are so passionate about something completely individual to themselves, hold on to them. Because you don't have to have people that are so passionate about the same thing. You just need to find the people that are at the same intensity of passion about something, linked together, and then everything starts to happen from there. It is, you could have a friend that is absolutely mental about streaming and playing video games, and because that like dedication and passion is there, somewhere in y'all's journey it's going to link together. It's just absolutely going to happen. An artist, someone who just draws all the time, maybe he does your logo, maybe he does your graphics, your VJ stuff, like it just happens. So the other aspect is just concepts. If you can learn and understand concepts, you're going to be able to create something that nobody's thought of yet, because most people are a carbon copy of a carbon copy is what many of my teachers have said. And then just trust,
Hell
trust the
yeah.
process, man. Yeah.
1 minute left, brothers. Who you want to shout out?
Uh, man, if anyone comes up to the top of my head, I got to shout out my teacher, Francis Prev, amazing sound designer. If you have, any of the major synths, Serum, like any of the crazy VC kind, he's made those patches. If you have any hardware, he's probably programmed your synth.
Oh shit.
Amazing dude, been helping me grow a lot. And then, yeah, I probably would just give one more shout out uh, to the collective, man. Just all the people have been putting into me what I needed.
Yeah. Well, with
Yeah.
that being said, this has been another Lullaby Stories with today's guest, Shadow Star. Thank you for all for watching, and hope you guys have a great, wonderful day, night, whenever the hell you're watching this. Peace, y'all.
Heyo. Cheers.